How's it going, guys? Frankie McRae here, with Director of Training for Raiden Tactics and owner of 37 PSR Gun Club. Today, we're going to do our first video blog on sport shooting versus tactical application of shooting. And Matt Kalich is a sponsored shooter by us, and he's on the Memorial 3-gun shooting team. And him and I were having a discussion yesterday about how in the Army and in the military, we've kind of gone back to the sport shooting applications of the speed and accuracy portion in our training, the same it was before the war. At the height of the war, everything was about tactical engagements and all that. But since the war has dwindled down, people are starting to go back to shooting 3-gun matches and all that. And I saw this happening early, back in 2010 when we first opened up our place. And so that's why I started the Infidel Gunfighter League. It's a place where we can take the sport shooting of the accuracy and the speed and put it with the proper tactics to learn those tactical application rules for if we ever do find ourselves in a self-defensive position. But the first thing I want to say is, what is sport shooting? Well, sport shooting is any time that we go to a competition and we are not using any type of tactics. The strategy in sport shooting is to apply fast, accurate shooting and a strategy of gaining time and the least amount of misses to win the overall match. Whereas the tactical application would put the same speed and accuracy in there, but it would be the proper use of tactics for the scenario to mitigate risk against us from the fire we're taking from the enemy. And we're not necessarily talking about military training as well. We're talking about just simple everyday things where you may come across an armed assailant in the parking lot. The IDPA used to do a really good job of that, but now they've gotten into, you got to wear that stupid fucking vest. You've got to have only a certain gun and all this other stuff where, people are carrying red dots on their pistols today as part of their everyday carry kit. And, that stuff's not really allowed in IDPA. And so with the IGL, we actually allow anything that you would have for home defense that you would carry for your defense of anywhere you're at, whether it's your vehicle, your home, or your car. We don't really care about it, but what we bring to the table with the IGL is the tactical application. So there's a couple of stages that do the speed and accuracy with a shotgun, with a rifle, with a pistol, and there's really no tactics involved, so it kind of isolates that portion. But then there's the tactical application stages as well. And this isn't really just about the IGL. This is about that difference between sport and tactical shooting. So what is tactical application? Well, it's whenever you're using the proper tactics, accuracy, power, and speed to mitigate risk from the enemy that's bringing fire or assaulting you. And so when you think about the word TAPS, TAPS, it helps you to understand that. And this is that combination of the sport shooting where we got the accuracy and the speed, but without the strategy to win the match. We use the tactical application of tactics that are what we use to mitigate the risk from the enemy to us. And so that movement, using cover, using concealment, and reducing our overall signature by staying back behind our cover, reducing our signature with our flash, where in sport shooting everybody uses comps or breaks. In the tactical application, those things will give your position away. And so while they somewhat mitigate recoil and all that, proper training will show you the proper stance and everything else to mitigate that recoil. You can do that same thing with a flash hider. And the flash hider actually reduces your overall signature to the enemy, so they don't say, oh, there's that flash over there, let's shoot in that direction. And even sometimes shooting in that general direction puts enough suppressive fire on you that you can't do anything. You can't use the tactics that you have to gain the initiative. The next is accuracy. There's no replacement for accuracy. And when we combine the tactics of mitigating what the enemy does against us, it helps us to move against the enemy as well. We make it even more efficient by using accuracy, by placing accurate fire over our target. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we're putting two shots in the same hole, because if we do that, we actually reduce the overall damage that we do against our threat. But if we open those shots up, say one in the chest and one up in the upper chest, or one in the pelvis, even better, like we teach in the RAID system, one in the pelvis and then one in the chest, with the wounding capacity of the rounds that we inflict on that person, we're actually doubling the amount of damage. But if we put two shots in the same hole, we've mitigated the damage of the second shot with the first because we're really not doing any more damage to those organs and those systems. More importantly, to the structure. If we shoot somebody in the pelvis, they can't stand, and so they immediately start to fall. And then we follow up quickly with one in the chest. Now we've done deadly damage, twice as much as we did with the first shot, by placing it in the pelvis and then in the chest. Okay, so that's that tactics and that accuracy of putting it in there. So we're not exactly looking for 2 shots in the same hole. We're looking in the kill zone of our threat. The next is power. And we only get the power in the engagement when we combine the tactics and the accuracy together. By using that violence of action, putting everything we have into it against our enemy and our threat, then we gain that power. But when we put the tactics, the accuracy, and the power together, we gain momentum and that speed that comes with it, and that's the S of TAPS. That speed is not necessarily, moving lightning fast. It's combining everything we need with the momentum that can't be overcome, and it looks smooth versus just fast. And so if you take those couple of things away, you'll know the difference between sport shooting and tactical application of shooting is the application of tactics. So hopefully we changed your mind today a little bit about the things that you're doing and the way you're training. Just understand, you can do all the sport shooting you want to gain that accuracy and that speed with the engagements, but you've got to apply the tactics and make that different in so much that it is what keeps you alive in the engagement.